From the state capitol, Capital Connection with Senator Bob Huff. And now, Capital Connection.
Hello, I'm Senator Bob Huff, representing the 29th District, and welcome to Capital Connections. Today we're pleased to have with us Judge Quentin Kopp, who will be talking about high-speed rail. The Honorable Quentin Kopp was appointed to the San Mateo Superior Court on January 1st, 1999 by Governor Pete Wilson. He served until 2004. In 2004, he was immediately accepted into the assigned judges program, serving San Mateo almost continuously with intermittent assignments to other counties. Prior to judicial appointment, Judge Kopp practiced law in San Francisco and Northern California. He served in the California State Senate, and that was a wonderful experience, I'm sure. He served in the California State Senate from 1986 to 1998 and the San Francisco Board of Supervisors from 1971 to 1986. He was appointed to the California High-Speed Rail Authority on June 13th, 2006. Welcome, Judge Kopp.
Thank you very much.
I'm really pleased that you agreed to come talk with us today, because recently in the November ballot we had on there a bond for the high-speed rail. Would you talk a little bit about people that may not remember what the high-speed rail is about? What is that program?
How soon they forget. It's a $9,950 million general obligation bond, of which $9 billion is allocated to the California High-Speed Rail Project. $950 million is allocated to regional rail agencies such as Metrolink in Southern California, Bay Area Rapid Transit District in the San Francisco Bay Area, for purposes of connecting to the high-speed rail alignment in the future. And it was actually submitted to the electorate back in 2002. It was supposed to be on the 2004 ballot. Then came the recall turmoil, so it was postponed to 06, and then the governor had a transportation bond in 06, so it was postponed to November 2008. Probably the worst time financially to have a large general obligation bond on the ballot. And yet it passed. It passed with almost 53% yes. Although I'll tell you, I wouldn't have forecasted it the weekend before, because the Gallup, or the field poll, had us at 47% yes and 42% no, the rest undecided, but I was pleasantly surprised. And that is the foundation for a project that will eventually be San Diego to Sacramento, almost 800 miles. The first phase is from San Francisco to Anaheim through Los Angeles Union Station, and that first phase has a cost of about $33 billion. Now, let's talk about the cost a little bit. So we had a bond that was $9-some billion, and obviously that's only a component of it. How do you see the rest of this being financed? Our current business plan calls for an additional $2 to $3 billion from local and regional agencies, including private sector participation, development rights around stations and similar kinds of arrangements, $12 to $16 billion from the federal government, and it's not necessarily the so-called stimulus bill. There are other bills that are pending or will be introduced in this congressional session, and $6.5 billion to $7.5 billion from private capital, making up the total of $33 billion. Now, you have private capital in here, and yet we just voted public money. That's kind of a new concept, or we've been hearing a lot of buzz about public-private partnerships. Maybe you talk a little bit more about how that's used in other places and how we do it. High-speed rail, our system, steel wheels on steel rails, is in effect in 11 other countries, starting with Japan in 1964 for the International Olympic Games. And almost all those systems, particularly the European model, are built on a public-private participation partnership. So this isn't anything new. We're looking at the way other people do this. New. I was a skeptic 2 years ago. If you'd told me that this would work, I wouldn't have believed you. The state treasurer identified for me last year 37 funds which are devoted to investing in governmental structures, everything from a Goldman Sachs to the California Public Employees Retirement System. Even the state teachers' retirement system has a special fund for investing in governmental structures. And last June, we issued and published requests for expressions of interest. And we got back 28 written expressions of interest to participate financially, either from an equipment standpoint, a construction standpoint, some type of service standpoint in return for an interest in the project. And included were 5 firms which expressed interest in investing cash. So I am convinced, I'm a believer, it's feasible. The governor has preached rightfully the advantages of private-public participations, and we may well turn out to be the biggest example of that in California.
Well, I've had the opportunity to travel in China. Over there they have 2 technologies, the maglev in Shanghai. Then they also have the steel on steel. But all of the projects they're doing over there, whether it's high-speed rail or they're building roads all throughout the country as well, they all seem to be on this public-private partnership because it's a way to leverage the government money can only go so far, and by bringing private capital, they can do that much more infrastructure. So
that's exactly our conclusion. We have a financial consulting team led by an entity called International Management Group of Washington. They've analyzed this twice for us, and they continue to follow every development around the world, especially with respect to capital markets. And they are convinced that it is feasible, realistic, and it'll be genuine.
And we're not reinventing the wheel. It's been done elsewhere, so we can use their expertise as we implement our system.
And we are using their expertise. Good. Interestingly, the Shinkansen system in Japan, the TGV in France, which you've experienced, and I have also experienced, and the AVE system in Spain, all have entered into memorandum of understanding, cooperative agreements, in which, for a pro bono basis, they are giving us peer review of our engineering design and the environmental analysis. Obviously, it's in their interest because eventually they're going to compete to operate the system, which will continue to be owned by the people of the state of California.
Well, that seems to be on big public works projects. There seems to be more and more cooperation in the different countries. I know I was visiting Ireland a couple of years ago, and they had a tunnel project that was just a huge tunnel from the ports because they got all this traffic congestion, much like we have. But we toured the tunnel and learned from their mistakes. But before they did that, they went and talked to the big dig guys because they wanted to learn, what went right, what went wrong there. They went and they talked to MTA because we had some experience doing tunnels for our subway in LA County. Basically, anywhere in the world where they had it, they went around, and then they said, anytime you guys want to do a tunnel project in California, let us know. We'll be there for you. So it helps to
it sure
have
helps.
That expertise.
And